Hi, teammates. This is Jerry Clark. I'd like to make some post-interview comments regarding the Boardwalk Bowl interview you just witnessed. After viewing the IUP studio interview of Coach Clausing and Coach Roseski, it became apparent to me that a number of teammates were not acknowledged for their contributions to the game and the '68 season. Also, my Boardwalk Bowl game recap during the interview had a couple of errors I would like to correct. Let me mention the errors first. The first error occurred when I mentioned a couple of times that the score at halftime was 7-0 Delaware. And of course, that was the score at the end of the first quarter. The second error occurred when I mentioned that the time remaining in the game was 1 minute and 15 seconds when Delaware was on our 11-yard line at the end of the game. But the actual time remaining was 25 seconds, not 1 minute and 15 seconds. I repeated that error a couple of times. Now, more importantly, I want to address the fact that in the course of the interview, we failed to acknowledge the contributions of all the players who were on the travel squad for the Boardwalk Bowl. Since our questions were mostly open-ended and our discussions were not scripted, some teammates did not get mentioned. Let me begin with the offensive side of the ball. As I mentioned in the interview, there were 8 starters and 12 lettermen returning on offense. I failed to mention left guard and captain Jack Henry and right tackle Joe Kowalczyk and their roles as multi-year starters on the offense. Joe made quite a position change from being the starting fullback in '67 to the starting right tackle in '68. Another teammate, Sam Patty, who played both center and defensive end, was a critical member of the special teams as a snapper for extra points, field goals, punts, and his play as a snapper was so important in the course of the Boardwalk Bowl. Other seniors who saw plenty of action during the '68 season were offensive tackle Chuck Kelly, center George Stair, and tight end Dave Bazzelli. Speaking of Buzz, do you remember his 9-yard diving catch during the Clarion game that kept our winning drive and our season alive? The backup quarterback during the '68 season and the Boardwalk Bowl was junior Carmine Cortazzo, who went on to coach and teach at IUP. Carmine was inducted into the IUP Hall of Fame for his success with the IUP women's volleyball team. The remainder of the travel squad consisted of 5 sophomores, namely split end John Ziegler, fullback John Butera, middle guard John Wilcox, guard Bob Cosgrove, and tackle L. Deep. In addition, defensive backs Dutch Kaufman and Bob Murphy, along with linebacker Dave Weber, were on the travel squad. And lastly, 2 defensive starters were not mentioned in the interview, namely starting defensive tackles Walt Pileski and A.J. Ferrara. Walt was a returning letterman from the '67 team, and A.J. was a 3-year starter at defensive tackle. These 2 did all the dirty work inside all season, and along with the rest of the defensive line, namely Duke, Mike Nixon, Joe Heimlich, Jack Neptune, Bob Pastine, and Jim Dotson, held a Delaware team averaging 401 yards a game to 201 yards, net rushing yards during the Boardwalk Bowl. Now, reflecting back, as I think about the '68 team, we had 22 seniors, 16 juniors, 31 sophomores, and a number of team managers, trainers, coaches, and support personnel who went through preseason camp together and practiced daily together for 9 regular season games. That is a team total of over 80 committed teammates who contributed to the success of the undefeated season. Unfortunately, the NCAA only allowed 38 players to dress for the Boardwalk Bowl, but the Boardwalk Bowl team, and I emphasize team, did not consist of 38 players, but 69 teammates who made it possible for IUP to be invited to the Boardwalk Bowl. And my one last comment would be, please make an effort to reach out to a teammate and make plans to attend one of our alumni events. Go Big Indians, go Hawks.
I'd like to remind listeners that we had 6 Boardwalk Bowl coaches. You just heard from 2 of them, head coach Chuck Clausing and defensive coach Ed Roseski. 3 coaches, unfortunately, are deceased: Owen Doherty, Bill McDonald, and Fred Chase. The remaining coach, Mickey Watson, was unable to make the coach's interview session, so Bob Tate contacted him by phone. Here is the recording of that phone interview, which is followed by player interviews.
Okay, I'm here with Mickey Watson. Mickey was played up at IUP, was quarterback, a great quarterback for IUP. Plus he was the quarterback coach and receiver coach for the Boardwalk Bowl team. And with that, Mick has some experiences he wants to relay to us. Go ahead, Mickey.
Well, Bobby, one thing that stands out in my mind was trying to get ready for that ball game. The weather was terrible. Coach Clausing had us practice in the gym when he could, but then we had to compete with basketball, and believe it or not, we had to compete with intramurals. So on occasion, he'd take us out on the football field, and it was icy, and of course, no lighting at Miller Stadium, so we faced east and west with the lights coming from the top of the stadium down, shining on just the backs of us, and our major concern was injury. We thought we were going to get somebody hurt, and really disliked that practice, going outside and practicing. Besides that, it was terrible weather. It was cold. I think the other couple of things that stand out in my mind was the intensity leading up to the game. I think all the players on the team were really dedicated and had a tremendous desire to play that football game. And it built, and it stayed with it through the whole ball game, and it just kept building to a crescendo. And unfortunately, we had those last couple of minutes. And the third item, I reflect, and I'm not looking for a pat on the back, but Coach Clausing, I would talk with him on the phone, and one play stood out in my mind because it was probably the only contribution I made to the game. We ran an off-tackle power play, and Delaware was trying to jam the safety up in to get an extra man in that off-tackle area, and Dave Smith couldn't get down inside to get him. So we called the power pass play. I told Coach if we ran Dave in, broke him back out on the corner, we had a chance for a big play, and he listened to me, and here I am, a young guy and no coaching experience, and Coach Clausing was pretty much like that with me the whole time I was there, and I admire him, and I've always really enjoyed the years when I reflect back that I spent with him as a player and a coach.
And Mickey,
we called the play, and Wally threw a very nice pass. David Smith caught it. I can't remember whether it was a touchdown or not, but I'm sure if you ask Wally, he'll remember.
There you go. Very good. Anything else?
No, buddy. It was a pleasure, and I think of that opportunity, and I went on and coached college football for 15 years and became a head coach and athletic director, and I just want to thank Coach Clausing for giving me the opportunity to get started there. The late Bill McDonald, who was on the staff with us at the Boardwalk Bowl, I went on and coached with him at Edinburgh, and those were 2 great coaches and great people, so I feel very blessed to have been part of their lives.
Okay, I'm with Ted Olson, now Ed Olson, number 81. Back in 1968, Ted played linebacker, number 81, and he was very instrumental in the Boardwalk Bowl, giving the IUP the chance to win the game. Eddie blocked 2 punts against the Delaware Blue Hens, and as Tuffy Doherty said, I can't think of anyone that has blocked 2 punts against the Delaware Blue Hens, but that was our guy Ted Olson. And we have Ed with us right now. Okay, Ed, you're on.
Thanks, Bob. It's good to be back with the team and Captain Bob Tate, and just like old times, and I'm happy to give my recollections of some of the events around the Boardwalk Bowl, and I've got a few notes here, so I'll be referring to those. Basically, it was a great season, undefeated, a coach that led us with great ability, and we got to the end of the season, and it came down to players. You got two choices. You can go to Bowl A, or you can jump a division and go to Bowl B, the Boardwalk Bowl against Delaware, and we, under the leadership of Bob T, I'll never forget the words he said: "No decision here. We know what we want to do. We want to play the best team." And off we went to the Boardwalk Bowl against Delaware. Well, in preparing for that game, Coach, as usual, looked at lots of films and got the statistics, and I believe he had said that no one had blocked a punt against Delaware all season. So, taking the strength of the team and saying, oh, they might be a little bit overconfident, vulnerable there, I think we can block a punt. So plays were put into place, line play, and I was chosen to try to break through and get a blocked punt. Well, it came time for the game. They went back to punt. I believe it was in the first quarter, the second quarter, the first punt, and the hole opened, but just a little bit. As I went through, I got bumped, and I said, I'm not going to make it. I've been bumped here. And then I get through one level, and I get to the second level, and there's a player right in front of me. And I say, it's too late. I said, all I can do is jump, not thinking I had a chance. Well, I jumped, and the player was short, and as I jumped, he hit me, and his effort kind of lifted me a little bit higher. I extended my hand, and at the very highest point that I could reach, here came the ball, and it got blocked. And I don't know if we went on to score at that point, but we had good field position after that block punt. The second block punt, it was called, everybody rush the punter. So all of a sudden, there's 11 guys or 10 guys on the line. They snap the ball, and everybody breaks through, and it was like a swarm of people, as I remember going with the teammates for that second punt. This was in the fourth quarter. We were down by, I think, 2 points, and all of a sudden, my hand made contact with the ball. We blocked the punt, and we again had a chance to take the lead, which we did with a field goal that followed. So those were a couple of the recollections I have around the block punts. Again, a great game, on a great team, something that I always remember.
That's outstanding, Ted. That's outstanding.
Okay.
Hey, outstanding. What else? Anything else, Ted? You were the man blocking those 2 punts, brother. Okay, this is Bob Tate, and I'm here with Gene Pawlowski, number 63 on your on the roster, number 1 in your heart. Gene played, I think, right guard, Gene?
Yes, right guard.
Played right guard. Offense was one of the stalwarts of the offensive line beside Bobby Strauss at center, and who was it? Jack Henry was the other guard or tackle. So Gene, we're with Gene today, and we're waiting to hear what he has to say. Go ahead, Gene, you're on.
Well, what most people don't realize, in high school, I was an industrial arts major, had no idea about going to college. Chuck Clausing brought me to Indiana. It was for him that I came to Indiana, and I got a college education. Playing football was great, 3 years at IUP. The Boardwalk Bowl was accumulation not only of great sportsmanship with fellow football players, It gave me the academic education I needed to be successful in life.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Anything else? What about the game?
Memories of playing in a Boardwalk Bowl and also playing with the other teammates for 3 years was excellent and gave me some great skills. And I appreciate reflecting back on it now, these many years later.
Outstanding, Gene. Anything else? Anything on the game at all?
The game went so fast. It was such an excitement to build up to the game, going up to the game, practicing for it, playing, that the hard part was losing. It was just so sad to finish off the college career by losing, but yet the experience was so worthwhile. I was very fortunate to have Coach Clausing reach out to me. West Mifflin is right next to Braddock where Coach Clausing coached. For him to bring me from an industrial arts major in high school, no college prep, to go to college, not only go to college but play football, gave me the opportunity to become a CPA, got my MBA.
What Gene stated that was erased partially, my fault, I apologize, was that he was the CEO of a hospital system down in West Virginia for 26 years. So that's all tribute to Coach Clausing. Okay, I got Charlie Hassey here. Charlie's number was number 17. He played safety and corner on the left side. And Charlie was a sophomore whenever he played in the Boardwalk Bowl. And we have Charlie with us today to make some commentary. Go ahead, you're on, Charlie.
All right, hey, I'd just like to say that playing as a sophomore was a great opportunity, and the guys, obviously, that played on this team were tremendous athletes. Chad and Jerry and Stan in the backfield, and the linebacking crew was great defensive line. So it was a great opportunity for me. Very much appreciate the dedication. We practiced hard, was coached very well. As far as the game itself goes, I have little recollections of the game. If there was certainly 18 seconds or 25 seconds that I could take back and do over, I'd like for those to be the end of that game, but that's certainly not possible. And so overall, this was just a great experience and a lot of good memories and good friendships made out of this team.
Okay. Did you have a concussion or what, Charlie?
I believe so. After the game, I had little recollection of playing the game. I have some faint memories of looking up, but that's and seeing the interior of the dome, but that was about it. So I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. Anything else relative to the coaches or anything like that?
Oh certainly Coach Clausing and the defensive coach at that time, Coach Rusesky, Coach Laverty. All were very good. Mo Smith, certainly Miss Mo, and some of the other guys who have already passed away. So this is a great team, and obviously when you look at the number of folks who actually had Division I or major college opportunities and either transferred in or played on this team, it certainly was quality top to bottom. As far as the coaching staff, they were excellent. Coach Clausing has always been an inspiration, and some of the stories he told, I've used those in my work in the healthcare field, so that's always kind of a blessing. And Coach Rusesky, actually, when I was a freshman, somebody came down after the whistle blew, knocked me on my butt, and he picked me up and says, hey, you never stopped it regardless of the whistle, got in my face and made me try to knock him down. So that was always a fond memory, man, and he kind of taught me well. Coach Doherty was always there and was fun to actually play for in the field, and it was always a good time with him.
Okay, I'm now talking to Dale Hall. Dale's was a guard. I played on either side of the ball, and his number was number 68, and he played in the Boardwalk Bowl, and one of our tough guards. Dale, can you make some comment relative to the Boardwalk Bowl game, Coach Clausing, etc.? It's up to you.
Yes, Bob. I think the few comments that I have, and I guess probably, first of all, I'd just like to say what dedicated, had a lot of drive and determination, which was displayed on the field. And I believe that the game that we played was a very exciting game, both for the players, our students, families, and those who watch the game on TV.
Okay, I have Jack Neptune with me. Jack, number 86 on your roster, number 1 in your heart. Played defensive end in the Boardwalk Bowl. He had 2 sacks of a quarterback for that game. And Jack is here to give us some comments relative to his action. Okay, Jack, you're on.
Well, I'd first just like to say that my time at IUP was a high point following a mostly own high school football experience. The colleges interested me in playing football. And IUP experiences started with Coach Cosby, a short positive note about one of my few game films, and that note really boosted my confidence. I told him a few years ago, I confided to him that the other guy on the double teams was NFL Hall of Famer Jack Ham, and finally came clean. But thanks, Coach, for that confidence booster. I remember over 100 guys went out to freshman football my freshman year, and that's when Coach John Tate ordered my future after I tackled a 290-pound guy and grabbed me by the helmet and read my name. I ended up playing defensive end, and we went undefeated in 6 games. Many people contributed to my IUP experience. Coaches Eddie Roseski and Aaron Bethany gave me a chance, stuck by me, and treated me with dignity. They were, as was Coach Clausen, great coaches. I was surrounded by great talented teammates. Having guys like Chad Ruffner, Bob Tate, Jerry Clark, Tony Ferrari, or Bob Pastine around me meant that this mediocre athlete, all he had to do was his own job. So that's what I tried to do. Nothing around our side was our creed. My first spring training, I had a surprise chance to play with the starters. I conceived the notion that if I survived the punishing hitting drills of Duke's ferocity, Ty Dawson's forearm, Joe Heimlich's and Walt Pileski's impacts, and those previously mentioned, I may have a chance. I also figured that when I lined up opposite them, they were secretly saying to themselves, oh good, I get net this time. But I didn't care as long as I was playing. With few exceptions, the toughest and best offensive guys I played against were teammates, including Bobby Croquet, Jack Henry, Tommy McCracken, kicking out on me, as well as many others. Survive the spring game, and you're ready for other teams. So I survived and found myself with all these great teammates, including high school teammate Charlie Hassey, in a college bowl game in Atlantic City. And it didn't start well, as Delaware had me tagged as someone they could run at. They did. The first plane I got hooked by the wingback, and they had a nice game. I remember the coaches told us our coach had a tendency to repeat successful plays. They did. And this time I strung out the play to the sideline and turned to tackle the runner and was hit by a Mack truck. But all those heroes I mentioned before were coming up to help me. So as the day went on, we got better, confidence was regained, and a great game was played. I'm very proud of our coaches and teammates for that day and for all my IUP playing days. I'm sorry I can't make it home for the game viewing, but Diane and I have several important family events.
You're okay.
As our son is coming home from Iraq, and I have to be there. I hope to make a game this fall and see as many of you as possible. Have a great time. Be safe. No big Indians. That's it.
Okay, very good, Jack. And just one correction, it wasn't a mediocre player. Jack was one of the best defensive players we ever had up at IUP.
I tell you, I was surrounded by you guys, and I was safe. Okay?
Very good. And we're very... Go ahead, sorry.
I'm appreciative of everything that happened to me up at IUP and my teammates and my coaches, so everybody should know that.
Very good, Jack. And we do appreciate your son, and we salute your son for serving our country and coming home from Baghdad in the next week or two. Okay, I have Dick Dragonek now on being interviewed. His number 10. Dick played split end and was also a wingback. And for me, the biggest thing that Dick did, he was my holder, and he was always most reliable holder in the world. And Sam Patty was the same with the snapper, because he would be always snapping the ball right for a good hold. So in any event, Here's Drags. Go ahead, Dick.
I just wanted to mention that when we kicked the field goal that put us ahead in the Boardwalk Bowl, that you just split the uprights from a real long distance. I had no nervous tension at all when I was taking a snap because we had thought that was still third down. We had lost the one down. It was actually a fourth down play, and the offense that was on the field did not realize it was a fourth down play. I had no nervousness about taking the snap, putting it down, and you just split the uprights with it, which was really a great moment.
Well, you and Sam were the best, and the whole team blocked. Go ahead, Jack. Go ahead,
but one of the biggest things that I've taken from the Boardwalk Bowl is, of course, just the experience itself. But later on, I got into college coaching, and I realized more and more that we were at a small school, Indiana University of Pennsylvania. When we first started, it was just Indiana State. And we probably had as strong a coaching staff as anybody in the country. Our people were dedicated. They knew their stuff. And I'll tell you one thing, the best thing about it is how they communicated with the players and got the best out of each of us. And they put us in the right spots, and they played us to our full potential and leaned on the people that had the talent, and we were able to put the whole thing together with a little bit of personal and intestinal fortitude, that's for sure. A lot of guts. And we ended up having a season that will never be forgotten at IUP.
Okay, I'm here with Chad Ruffner, number 42, outstanding defensive player. And he has some comments relative to the Boardwalk Bowl. Okay, Chad, you're on.
Okay, it's kind of funny. It's about the game itself. I do remember a lot of things, but I think the thing that made the biggest impact on me was that I found out immediately after the game that the Boardwalk Bowl officials gave us a standing invitation to return the next year. And since I had probably had my worst game that I had played in 3 years at that point up to IUP, that kind of helped me out a little bit because I said, well, next year we'll get revenge because we were supposed to have at least as good a team as we had that year. And so I said to myself, well, you know what, we'll get back at them next year and we'll redeem ourselves. And all summer long, I worked out like a crazy man. And then in pre-season camp, I was elected one of the captains, and we were called to a meeting with President Hassler along with some of the coaches. And there they informed us that we would not be permitted to go back to the Boardwalk Bowl because it was an NCAA event, and we were in NAIA. And I just remembered how disappointed I was about that we didn't get a chance to go back and beat Delaware the next year. So believe it or not, that's one of the things that I remember more about the game was not the game itself, but just the consequences that happened because of it. But as far as the game itself, another weird thing just stuck in my mind. We practiced there one night before the game, and as we were coming off the field, Delaware was coming onto the field, and we had our equipment off, and they didn't have any equipment on either. And they were walking outside, and oh my God, help us. But as everybody knows, we gave them everything that they could handle. So that was actually the things that I remembered the most about the game. And then, of course, I guess the thing that will always stick in my mind is when Bobby Tate kicked that field goal. I guess everybody there, including us, that we thought, well, there's no way we can lose this game. There's a minute left, and our defense will hold. And we didn't do that. But I was still proud. I was still proud of the team and proud of the way that we handled ourselves. And just remembering that everything Coach Clausing had done that year, getting us into the bowl game and everything else. So I think I'll be ever grateful to Coach Clausing for what he did for us and got us into that game, to the fact
Outstanding, Chad. Outstanding. And as far as me kicking a field goal, Sam Patty had to have the snap, Dick Draggers had to have a good hold, the team had to block, and then that enabled me to kick a field goal. But from that, we wish we would have taken up a little more time on the clock. But Chad, these are excellent comments, buddy. Okay, I'm here with Dave Smith, number 87 on your roster. Dave, as you know, was an outstanding receiver for Indiana and the Boardwalk Bowl, and he's here to give some comments relative to the Boardwalk Bowl. David, you're on.
Well, the Boardwalk Bowl is always going to be interesting to me for a number of reasons. Uniquely, it was the second postseason bowl game I had ever played in, and it was with two different colleges. So Waynesburg College, we were NAIA champions, and then 2 years later, I'm at IUP, and we're competing in a postseason bowl game. Before the game, it was interesting for me because I had to practice basketball and football because I played both sports right up to the time of the game. And in fact, I arrived to the game site in Atlantic City after being all night on a train from Pittsburgh because I had a basketball game 2 days before the Boardwalk Bowl. So I had about, I think, 1 or 2 practices before the game. So that was my preparation. I think the thing that struck me in the preparation, I made it in time for the banquet. And it was interesting because Tubby Raymond had bragged about how he didn't recognize me as being worthy of any consideration with his players, and that he didn't understand why we were being scheduled, they were being scheduled at Powerhouse to play a weak team, Indiana, PA. And I'm sure Coach used that to his advantage. And once he used that to his advantage, I understood everything. So now during the game, I watched and observed, and we held our own. Playing indoors was fantastic, but it was interesting. The strategy the coach had was he told me to just flank out as wide as I could and just stay there. And when I found out, I was triple teamed every time I went out to the flank. And it took me a while to understand what Coach was doing, but basically I was the equivalent of blocking 3 men, and that was the first time I'd ever been a decoy. I had to get used to that, but it was effective because it really helped our running game. And I had 3 guys looking at me, and it opened up holes for Danny, and it made opportunities. I don't think I had 3 balls thrown to me. I was fortunate enough during the game to get one of them thrown to me, and it was converted into a touchdown. But Coach's strategy was brilliant. After the game, I don't remember a lot. I just remember the disappointment of us losing. But other than that, it was very cold. My godparents had come down to see me from New York City, and I was anxious after the game to head on back to New York City with them the following morning. I was scheduled to take a private plane to go play Geneva that same night in a basketball game, but that was postponed. I was not going to get on the plane, certainly a small plane, and fly back to Geneva to play in a basketball game. So afterwards, in hindsight, I would say the most impressive thing to me was the number of people that came to the game from Indiana, Pennsylvania. And they will always stick in my mind because it really put Indiana, Pennsylvania on the map. People had always confused the school with Indiana, the state of Indiana. And to this day, I'm still amazed at how many people remember that game. To me, it was, pretty much another game. And it was just the number of people that drove and came from Indiana, PA. I never wandered off campus much, but I didn't even realize that many people lived in Indiana, PA. So it turned out to be a great day. Certainly, it was a coaching masterpiece by Coach Clausen. He knew all the time what he was doing. Tubby Raymond was legendary, of course, as the Division I coach at Delaware. But we all know that Chuck Clausen is the legendary coach at every level. And anything we did that day, we owed to Coach Clausen, and he made us all men, and that's exactly what he does. So that's my recollection of the Boardwalk Bowl.
Okay, I have Duke Del Vecchio, middle guard, IUP, great player, Hall of Famer, captain of the football team. Duke, what comments do you have relative to the Boardwalk Bowl?
Okay, a couple of things I remember is, number one, it was extremely hot inside the Atlantic City Convention Center, which I didn't expect. And the field itself was made of natural grass, but it gave way a lot of times when you cut on it or, try to do things on it, which to me was poor field conditions. And unfortunately, the one thing I really remember is we lost in the last minute, but we never gave up the fight, and that was important to me. The end.
Okay, I'm here with Danny Cox, number 43, played half for IUP. 23. Played half for IUP, was a great runner, and really contributed to the team. Dan, how about some comments relative to the Boardwalk Bowl?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank all our coaches and for providing us the guidance and the ability to finish undefeated in 1968 and getting us into the Boardwalk Bowl. I think that what I remember most about it was the excitement of our team and the camaraderie we had and the feeling that we've got a chance to play against a team that's in a much higher division than we were, and that was something that I would say that we all welcomed, and we're looking forward to it, and felt that we could win that game. The 3 years prior, or 2 years prior to that I played with on the team, we only lost 3 games, and we weren't used to losing. So I think we all felt that we could be successful against Delaware. The other thing I was really excited about was our fans, our student body. Before the game, during the game was fantastic. All the banners they had, and it was just really thrilling to see all their support. And even after the game, there was a lot of support in Atlantic City, especially at the I think it was the Bluebird Lounge. If anybody ever had a chance.
That's correct. That's correct, Dan.
We all ended up there after the game, feeling ourselves, and then realizing that what we just did was really a fantastic thing. The other thing was our first chance to ever play for IUP, to ever appear on a regional TV, and I think that exposure hopefully helped the athletic program in Indiana, and I think that the one thing that I really look at is after the game, and as you get back to school and you get back into spring ball, and you get to where you're going to start the season at, and you begin to realize we have a really good team going into our senior year too. And I was really hopeful that we might have been able to go undefeated again and repeat the Boardwalk Bowl. And unfortunately, that some things from what I remember, due to decisions made by the athletic staff and other than football within the university, we weren't able to accomplish that. But it was a fantastic experience, one I'll never forget, and one I hope that the university will never forget. So I appreciate the opportunity to play at IUP, and it was a great experience for me, and there's a lot of good friends that we all made throughout those years, and I wish IUP the very best going forward.
Now it's time to get some comments from one of the captains, a member of the IUP Sports Hall of Fame, a guy that has worked hard over the last 45 years to keep our Boardwalk Bowl team together, arranging reunions, gatherings. Number 70 on our team, defensive linebacker that started, and our place kicker that kicked that field goal near the end of the game. Here's Mr. Bob Tate.
Okay.
played football for Coach Clousing. Coach IUP was and is a great university, and Coach Clousing was an exceptional coach. His staff included Owen Doherty, Ed Ruseski, Fred Chase, and others. We were a great team with a record of 7-2 my sophomore year, 8-1 my junior, and 9-0 my senior during my 3 years at IUP. As teammates, we practiced daily, tackling, blocking each other. We held each other in the most loved positions at times as we tackled each other and blocked each other. We also practiced kicking daily. As we prepared for the Boardwalk Bowl, the IUP community and IUP student body were excited and hyped for the game. Thousands of students in the IUP band attended the game. Delaware believed they had a cakewalk in playing us. They thought they had the game won before we entered the convention center. However, once the game started, Delaware realized this was no cakewalk. This was war, and we were not going to give it up. The defense held their ground. Jack Neptune even had 2 sacks of the quarterback, and Ted Olson blocked 2 punts. The IUP offense, Lucas Cox scored touchdowns. We were in this game and even led the game for several quarters. However, in the closing minutes of the game, we were losing by 2 points, and Coach Clousing decided to try a field goal, which was 32 yards away. As Dick Dragonek, Sam Patty, and I ran out onto the field and prepared to attempt a kick, my leg was shaking. I was hyped. As Drag called the signals for the snap, the offensive line held their blocks. Sam had a perfect snap. Drag had a perfect hold. I thankfully kicked the ball through the uprights. We took the lead, 24-23, with only a minute left. However, as we know, Delaware came back to beat us in the last seconds of the game. We lost the game in points, but we won the game of life. We never gave up. We never stayed down. We always gone up, and we never gave up anything. Our team was comprised of 22 players that never gave up. 13 players were ROTC graduates who received their commission and served in the armed forces, some in Vietnam. Many players became teachers, principals, superintendents, Secret Service agents, stockbrokers, coaches, business executives, etc. Unfortunately, 10 players and coaches also passed since the Boardwalk Bowl. These were our peers. We miss them. Again, as I reflect back, I was so privileged and honored to play for IUP and graduate from IUP. I especially want to thank Wally Stapleton, Jerry Clark, and especially Bob Strauss for all the work that they put together and put forth in making this production possible. Wally, Jerry, and Bob were outstanding. Again, it's a great, I feel very privileged to play for IUP. I'm very thankful, and I look forward to seeing any of my teammates in the future.
This is Bob Strauss with a couple minutes of comments reflecting on my IUP football experience. As a high school senior with only 1 year of football experience, I had the opportunity to meet with Coach Clousing. He came across as a sincere, focused, no-nonsense championship coach. I remember him saying he was recruiting players from winning high school programs to feed a championship college football program. There was no doubt in my mind where I was going to play college football. When I arrived at IUP, I was young. I was only 17, born in 1948. I was undisciplined and marched to the beat of my own drum. Fortunately, Coach Clousing was also a disciplinarian. During my sophomore year, I was caught violating team rules. Coach Clousing suspended me for 3 games and took away my letter. It really stung, but taught me a lesson I needed at the time. There's no doubt in my mind that the discipline, determination, and teamwork I learned at IUP from Coaches Clousing and McDonald contributed significantly to my successful career in business. And now for the Boardwalk Bowl. Several of us were sick during the week leading up to the game, and in my case it was the flu. Trainer Prater found some yellow mystery capsules to help me with the symptoms, and I didn't practice the entire week. However, the game day adrenaline rush and the spirit of my teammates put all thoughts of sickness out of my mind. Having guards Jack Henry and Gene Pulowski and Dale Hall rotating next to me at the guard positions was something I'll never forget. Whether a trap, wedge, double team, or straight-on blocking, they were impressive. Our offense focused heavily on off-tackle runs and around the end and passing plays. So the plays up the middle were far and few between. However, both Tom McCracken and Dan Cox had long runs up the middle to set up touchdowns that helped keep the game extremely exciting for me. Now I'll wrap things up with some thank yous. This DV is number 3 in a set of 3 DVDs documenting the 1968 IUP football program. The first DVD that some of you saw in April of 2014 is a game film video with ABC TV overlaid. The second DVD is a DVD of memories, remembering not only the deceased players and coaches, but all players and coaches from the 1968 football season. And then there are some Ray Goss WDAD highlights on that DVD. The third DVD, this DVD is what we call the Interviews DVD, where you heard interviews from with 2 of the coaches, 3 of the coaches actually, with the follow-up with Mickey Watson, and then several IUP football players. So in putting all of this together, I need to thank 3 people. First, I want to thank Wally Stapleton. This whole effort to document the 1968 football season began when Wally came up with game video for the first and fourth quarters, and then found a Delaware contact with some of the second quarter and third quarter game film. Jerry Clark, Bob Tate, and I thought it would be nice to combine ABC TV audio with the game film and share it with teammates. Wally continued to provide significant support as the project expanded to include documenting more memories from the season, and he arranged for WIUP TV to film the coach's interview. Jerry Clark focused on game film initially. He followed up with Delaware fullback Sam Brickley to get Delaware game film and helped search every place we could think of to try and find missing film. He continued to try and locate the first 9.5 minutes of the second quarter. As of today, that has still been unsuccessful. Jerry also put together the interview script for the coach's interview, which I thought was extremely well planned out and very thorough. And then Bob Tate. Bob Tate joined Jerry to search through every football film in the field house to try to find the second and third quarters, certainly the first 9.5 minutes of the second quarter. He also contacted many people to try and find better quality audio broadcast of the game, and was able to get highlights in the last 6 minutes of the game from WDAD Ray Goss. Bob had excellent secondary comments and questions for the coach's interview, and then followed up with phone interviews of Coach Watson and 10 teammates. So, again, thank you, Wally, Jerry, and Bob. In closing, I also want to thank every player, coach, and support person, to include the band, cheerleaders, and students from IUP 1968 football season, for your contribution to an undefeated regular season and the opportunity to play in the only postseason bowl game in IUP history.